So now that the new hero Orisa has been released, a leak from 4chan that I covered a couple videos ago has turned out to be true, which means there's a brand new cinematic coming. Let's talk about it. So now that Orisa is out, we know for a fact that this 4chan leak, which I covered before in another one of my videos, we know for a fact that this is confirmed, and it was confirmed before because they predicted the Lunar New Year event, and they even predicted the individual skin that MEI ended up giving, although that didn't stop some of you commenters saying that it was completely debunked and that Anchora was never coming. Turns out the Anchora leak was spot on, and they did add an omnic quadruped to the leak. It's just that the codename Anchora was really just a code name. It was Orisa. So now that we know all that's confirmed, this leak is 100% accurate, and that means the next origin story for a hero is MEI. So for a little backstory, if you didn't know, the 3v3 map in Overwatch, Eco Point Antarctica, is actually MEI's little research lab. It's her backstory map, and if you go around the map, you can see there's a lot of clues and hints as to what happened there. In the side rooms on the spawn rooms, there's like a big block of ice that they were looking into. There's some post-it notes that are kind of torn up that are just all over the place talking about their supplies running out, and there's a bunch of cryopods that will never be opened because there are dead people inside, and those are all of MEI's teammates that she was working with, so it's very sad for her. But anyway, people always kind of knew what was MEI's story and how everything happened in Eco Point Antarctica, but obviously Blizzard had never gone into detail about it. They'd never made a cinematic or an origin story in this case for MEI talking about all this backstory. So this guy on 4chan, he leaked the entire thing. It's the entire origin story. It describes all the scenes, it describes what happened, and it has a pretty meaningful ending, which is why when I first read it, I originally believed it was created by Blizzard because it was a fairly well written story and did have a very meaningful ending. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this for you guys here. I'm going to read this exactly as it was written, or I'm going to do my best to paraphrase it. So here we go. With the team at Eco Point Antarctica cut off from comms and supplies, they voluntarily go into cryogenic sleep. MEI wakes up 10 years in the future with only the viewer shown on the timer, which I guess means that it only shows the time on her little viewer. And she continues to do her daily business. So she doesn't know what year it is, what's happened. She just gets out of her pod and does her thing. Eventually, she uncovers 10 years worth of data at one of the terminals and rushes back to the cryopods, wiping the glass window as it cuts to her face, having realized what transpired. Basically, she didn't realize that she was in the pod for 10 years and she just kind of got up and did her thing, and then suddenly there's 10 years worth of data on the computer and she realizes like, oh my god. So she hatches a plan to bring communications back online so she can contact everybody and get some help, and she has her robot assistant helping power her life support, which is the little dude I think who gives you the Blizzard ultimate. He's a little flying buddy. So venturing out, her power shorts out and her little robot dude sacrifices its life to spare hers. Then the entire thing ends with MEI sitting staring at a transponder, viewing a repeating loop of Winston activating all members of Overwatch, which is what happened in Winston's origin story cinematic, and the viewer is left to realize that Winston is ultimately responsible for waking MEI. And then of course below this MEI origin story, the poster goes on to talk about Anchora, who we now know is called Orisa, and they talk about all that. And below even that they say Doomfist, and they just say that it's going to be a black guy, but we could have all guessed that because Doomfist was originating in Numbani. I think it's really interesting that this story ends the way that it does though, because Winston actually is responsible for saving MEI, and if you listen to the voice lines in game, Winston and MEI have this funny little thing going on. I don't know if you've heard it. It's almost like Winston like has a crush on MEI. I think it's pretty hilarious. So I think it's pretty funny there because, you know, maybe MEI feels the same way. Her life got saved by Winston after all. You never know. One thing I really want to know is how this leaker actually got the information they did. Because to actually know what's happening with the MEI cinematic, they would have to have seen somebody working on it and have had it shown to them completely, the entire story. They also knew about the next event, the next hero, and even some information about Doomfist, who's speculated to be the 25th hero. This person has a ton of inside knowledge, and it literally, I can't think of anything other than they work for Blizzard. Like, this completely probably breaches their terms of service, so this person I can't imagine they're going to be having a great time. I think they're going to be in a whole lot of trouble. Sadly, these leaks aren't exactly extensive. They kind of end here with Doomfist being the last thing they talk about. I was hoping for a bit more because, you know, it's always nice to read some interesting leaks, but I'm afraid that's all there is to it. That's all I got for this video. If you want to see more Overwatch leaks, more Overwatch news, and everything like that, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be covering all this stuff over the next coming weeks and foreseeably into the future. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'm Rejected Shotgun, signing off.